Can we take a moment to appreciate the whimsy of this outfit? And also, how well it goes with my cup. This is the kind of outfit that you frolic in the woods with, and if it weren't winter, I'd be recording this video in the outdoors, because this is a frolic outfit. Frolicked anyway. I am a hopeless romantic. I was born loving romance and romantic relationships. The imaginary games I played were all about relationship dynamics. I adore romance, and I am here to defend it because romance deserves so much better. First, I want to talk about romance in a more scholarly sense. So, allow me to reference my bare bones research. Throughout history, romance has been an avenue for empowerment for women. Women have always been ostracized, especially in Western civilizations, and romance novels is one of the few arenas that women have been given freedom. Insert meme about woman reading and being burned at the stake here. But women have always read, and women have been historically forced to read romance novels. That was kind of the female arena for books and reading. Women weren't allowed intellectual pursuits, and so women looked to romance novels. And unfortunately, romance novels, because of misogyny, have been looked down upon because it is primarily a women-centric genre. But romance serves as so much more than it's a women's leisure. No. Romance actually, historically, and in today's society, has served a larger role. The romance novel has allowed women to take control of narratives that surround interpersonal relationships, sexuality, and free will. The romance genre continually challenges gender expectations. There's a lot of gender interpersonal exploration that occurs within the romance genre because romance is primarily between two people, so it's interpersonal. It can also be between more than one person. Let me be clear. Polyamory is a thing. One of the aspects of romance novels that I find very interesting that is pretty prevalent today is spice. I hate being a part of the censorship realm, but here we are. It is a pushback against purity and against the staunch rules and regulations surrounding women and their sexuality, and also queer sexuality and queer identity. Female sexuality is, to this day, very heavily stigmatized, and so romance literature provides women the opportunity to explore sex beyond social stigma. Supposedly. People still shit on romance. Romance novels and literature provides insight to a current culture's views on romance, relationships, sexuality, and gender norms and expectations. Romance literature is an exploration of these very deep topics that are very personal and relevant to the culture. This stigma that romance still receives to this day, definitely not as much as it used to, but it's still there, according to Neil in this article, reflects a deep-seated anxiety about the relationship between women and sexuality and how women use their free time, aka blame misogyny. I want to share a critique real quick that I think a lot of people share about the romance genre, and that's specifically with how it's marketed. It is mismarketed a lot. So, more misogyny at play. According to this article, and I'm just going to read it, books written by women are usually categorized as romance if they contain sexual content, even if romance is not the main plot. However, sexually explicit books written by men, such as the Game of Thrones series by George R.R. Martin, are rarely categorized as romance when the love story is not the main plot. This is because sex is normalized for men, but stigmatized for women and genderqueer people. Misogyny. It can feel sinister to lump women writers as, oh hey, you have an explicit adult scene in your high fantasy world. Now it's romantasy, as opposed to just straight up high fantasy. Meanwhile, men authors can have romance as their B-plot in their high fantasy novel, but they're not romantasy. They're high fantasy still. Anyway, just something to think about. Now for my personal reasons why I enjoy romance so much. One, I'm just a lover of love. I'm a lover and I love love. So for me, there's first the very basic reason of I like romance because I like romance. That's it. It's very enjoyable for me and I just have a good time reading it sometimes. I'm very critical of romance, I'm learning. Don't do it well, I don't enjoy my time. But if it's done well, I enjoy my time. According to my standards, doing it well. But the other reason that I really enjoy romance literature is for all the reasons that I mentioned before from the more scholarly sources. Romance literature is an avenue in which you can explore so many attitudes that modern day culture has, or if you're writing a historical romance novel, the expectations and culture of that time. Romance can and often is social commentary. Why is it that we are far less inclined to take a critical lens to romance? Okay, so it's a spicy novel. How are they playing with power dynamics? Are there power dynamics involved? Are there things like age gaps? Why are we so fascinated by them? Why? We refuse to be critical about romance, especially with modern romance literature. It feels like it's just written off as ho-hum, this has nothing to say. And sometimes books have nothing to say. I don't think that that's necessarily unique to the romance genre. But sometimes that is what it is, and it's just there to exist on its own. While at the same time, look at the context that it exists in. Look at the context of when it was written. That's going to inform it. I want to take a moment to talk a little bit more about this. My thoughts were a little bit scattered in this video. I think we're seeing capitalism crush several things. When a book like that becomes tremendously popular, you're going to get carbon copies of it. This isn't new though. When you think of the giant boom that the Hunger Games experienced, suddenly we saw things like the Divergent series. Dystopian teen novels were all the rage because the Hunger Games was doing well, and so all these other novels came out riding the high. All of these novels were riding the coattails of a novel that happened to break through. And I think what a lot of people are experiencing right now is, first of all, the oversaturation of, it feels like everything, to me, everything is so oversaturated now with the internet that everything feels like a soulless carbon copy of the things that came before. Here's this book that did a really cool, interesting thing in this particular genre. Because it's doing so well, other people are going to copy it or tweak their book to match the trend, to sell it, to market it, to succeed. I think a lot of this critique is coming from this fact that there feels like there's more emphasis on the capitalistic profit side of literature and not enough on the social commentary side of literature. I think that's what a lot of people are experiencing right now, as like a general feeling that everyone's experiencing right now within these spaces. I also think that if you are critiquing romance because you think romance is a whole pile of nothing, I think that it's fair if it's coming from like a particular novel or a set of novels that encourages that kind of thinking. Like, there are bad romance novels. I'm not going to sit here and be like, romance as a genre is like perfect. It's not. Every individual book can be and should be critiqued. But if you dismiss romance because you think it has nothing to say, that's what this video is for. Romance has a lot to say, but like I said, I think a lot of us in these kinds of spaces are tired of soulless carbon copies that exist only to make money, riding off of the coattails of something that came before it. And it's up to debate whether that something before it had anything to say that was interesting or unique or valuable. But I think that's really what people in these spheres are looking for, is they're looking for the value of, are you saying something interesting? And I think a lot of people just feel like it's not happening at the quantity that they want it to, because a lot of the things that are happening or going viral on Book Talk feel like it emphasizes spice, which again, I would encourage people to ask themselves, why is this bothering you so much? And what does it reflect about modern culture and modern society? What does it say about this cultural moment at large? A lot of olden times romance novels explored the fact that women characters were more subservient and dismissed because that reflects the culture's attitudes at the time. That was the expectation of women. Then you have, I like to call it the Katniss Everdeen effect, where there is a stint in time where every woman character is feisty and sassy and empowered and powerful and fights really well and has this natural ability at fighting. And that absolutely reflects current culture ideas and expectations of gender. And then you look at today. Why aren't we applying that lens to romance literature of today? Why can't we look at it and go, okay, how are we exploring gender? Not to mention how often non-cis genders are explored in romance literature. Romance literature needs to get on it and work on being more inclusive. And I think that it has, but those voices aren't amplified very often. Something to be critical of. But the main reason that I really like romance in literature is because for most of us, I don't want to make a comment about inclusivity and then use exclusive language. Most of us enter into some sort of romantic relationship with someone that we spend most of our time with. And to have this idea that that person's not going to leave some sort of impact on you or not affect you in any way, shape, or form, to me is very naive. And so I like using the avenue of romance to explore the impact people have on us. How does my interaction with this person change me? How does it change the character? You can also think of how often romance can be twisted into something dangerous and terrifying, while the opposite side of that same coin, romance can be very empowering and uplifting. And exploring all these different ways to be in relationship, to be a person relating to another person, is endlessly fascinating to me. And putting it in a romance context is, to me, something that I think a lot of us can relate to or a lot of us desire. That said, I want to give credence to asexual and aromantic people. There are so many other avenues besides romance literature to explore the breadth and depth of interpersonal relationships. I don't think we should be excluding those identities at all when it comes to these discussions. When it comes to romance literature in particular, we do typically look at, unfortunately, a cisgendered, heterosexual standard, which should change. Romance, to me, is one of the most fascinating ways to explore identity and culture. And romance literature and writing romance, for me, is such a fun way to provide social commentary. I encourage you all to pick up a modern-day romance novel and take a critical lens to it. Ask yourself what is at play in this novel that reflects modern-day society. Are they reflecting it? Are they commentating on it? What's going on? Be more critical of your romance. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that typical YouTuber stuff. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye! Also, I'm trying a new audio thing. Who knows how well this is going to go? I am definitely going to try my best. A moment for the skirt, please. A moment for the skirt. I am sweaty. Holy cow.